What's going on? Now my shit's not recording.
Oh my! Because Hero answered the door.
It's literally as soon as I answer the door. Oh my god, I'm hungry,
Bruh, listen.
Like I'm dying. I haven't had anything since food came this morning.
That's unacceptable. I'm hungry right now. We ate it like 11.
Like I have to take deep breaths.
Yeah, we ate at 11, and now I'm like, we should have got a snack. Hey, we are in the booth again. It's been a long time. I'm super excited to be with these gentlemen. Two young minds, sharp minds. Well, maybe not Hero, because Hero been up grinding for like the last 20-something hours. But me and Guillermo are fresh, so we'll hold it down. Guillermo, talk to the people.
Hey, how you guys doing? This is Guillermo here from Circle of Life. You may or may not have heard of me, but here I am.
He comes in, I'm Batman. The legend, Guillermo. On the docket, so I definitely have to. I'm trying to brace myself because if I don't bring the correct energy, they're gonna run all over me. I'm not gonna let this shit happen. So I'm really about to get intense now. All right, so this is the news.
The news.
All right, so we're gonna talk first about. I had an early on debate. You know, I'm keeping a tally. I'm keeping a poll about the state that's doing the worst in 2019. And at first it was Virginia with a straight off lead.
Which I used to live there, and I moved as far and as fast as I could from that god-awful place.
Just to give you sort of like a heads up of why, we had the governor who did blackface, and when was confronted about this, and he explained why he did blackface, his reasoning was he wanted to win a Michael Jackson dance contest, to which a news reporter asked, what dance move do you feel most comfortable performing? And he said, the moonwalk. To which the reporter, God bless his heart, without missing a beat, says, could you show us?
Yes.
And for a split second, in his apology about doing blackface, he looks to his left, he looks to his right to measure the stage, and then looks to his left one more time to see his wife scorning him from hellfire, like, don't you dare. And he says no, and he objects. But that's more of a comical thing. We also want to talk about how, like, Virginia was doing the gerrymandering and not allowing people to vote, or how 6 of their schools had been contested and segregated to the extent that people were traveling 17 miles to go to school.
And that is why I left Virginia. See, the thing about Virginia, to Hero's point, is it is quietly still the old South. So we lived right around the corner from a university called Old Dominion. Why in the hell would you name a university Old Dominion? What are you referring to when you say Old Dominion? Talking about the old way of life. See, if you're not a grunt, if you're not a blue collar, dirty fingernail, plumber's crack worker, you get no love. They don't have any respect for technology. They don't have any respect for art. If you want that, you have to go to Richmond to get that. UVA, shout out to the Cavaliers. In Virginia Beach, Norfolk, if you're not a pipe fitter, if you're not a welder, if you're not just a straight up grinder, you get no respect. Things I see there all the time. HVAC, plumbing, those kinds of just day laborers, grass cutters, those kinds of people have all the business. They get all the respect. You're either that or a preacher. That's all you are if you live in that area, and that's despicable.
And I want to get to a finite point that it's despicable from the context of what they allow to happen in that area, because of I guess, like, the best way of putting it is sort of like the unionization of every single labor aspect of it.
Yes.
It has created a grunge politic which forces all of them to pay into a system that doesn't return back to their community. This is why you then see them bidding basically for the highest contract by lobbying for the politicians who will just pick and sign their companies. So it became a very mob feeling situation. But once again, Virginia was the old worst state. We now have a new worst state.
My current home state.
And it seems that it's following Eric, so we'll stay on task with that.
It is. It is.
And Dallas, not even Dallas, Texas as a whole has been suffering. It is now going through its weirdest phase. Since 1950, it hasn't experienced a purple divide, where the Democrats and Republicans in the state have evened out to the extent where it's almost impossible to figure out where it's going to go next year.
Oh, we know exactly where it's going.
We have an idea.
It's Texas is turning blue. So I live in Dallas. When I left in 2010, there was about 4.5 million people in the DFW Metroplex. 6 years later, I returned to the state. There's 7.5 million people, and most of them are transplanted from either the Northeast, which is all blue, or from the Northwest, which is all blue. And they're bringing their architecture, their way of life, and their way of thinking, which failed them miserably in their states, to my states.
That's completely objective. Like, that is subjective to his own thought process.
California, it's a bankrupt state. I'm just saying. California, it's a bankrupt state. They failed miserably.
No, they have not.
It's a bankrupt state.
When 3 of the largest companies are facilitated in-house out of one state, and they are using old tax loops from 2012 that haven't been reformed and have not been given the opportunity to reform, you're going to suffer.
Let's talk about Google then.
No. We're going to talk about Texas first.
No, I'm talking about Google because Google moved to Texas.
Austin, right?
They're in Austin.
So
why? Why did they do that? To taxes and money.
Of course. And
to get out of California. That's what I'm saying.
But all that's that's only going to hurt Texas more,
and that's the problem.
And we're going to get to that. So now we've discussed the money and sort of what is the collaborative thinking of the political discord there. The second aspect that you need to pay attention to is Texas is one of the hungriest gun states in the country. There is nearly 6 guns to every single person in Texas alone.
If you got them, shoot them.
This has led to a conscious uproar, but not a direct correlation of gun violence in that state from a both political standpoint and also from a police standpoint. The political aspect we think of El Paso. Now, me and you both have worked in El Paso.
Yeah, it was the safest city in the country up until that mass shooting.
And there are people who don't understand how gun enthusiasts acquire their guns. Someone shoots up a public place, a politician, Beto O'Rourke, gets on camera and says, "We will break down your doors and take your guns by force." Now, everyone in the group who's against people owning guns, raise your hand. Now, I am the only one that I knew that I was the only one. But you want to know something that I'm completely okay with? People owning guns. But not everyone needs to have guns. There's no reason why you need 6 guns and you only have 2 hands. So when situations like this arise, that O'Rourke feeds the notion of people wanting to get more guns. Mm-hmm. And those people then get to April and say, well, tax season's here and I need a break. And they sell those guns at these shows, conventions, with no checks and balance, and we get El Paso all over again. It is a vicious cycle that is being repeated and recycled by the idiots who are trying to stop the cycle. Mm-hmm. You need to be thinking. Me and Guillermo have talked about this on many occasions because he's the person, and I'll let him speak for himself about his beliefs on guns, but it's inherently important for you to have a consensus. If you have a gun, you need to be registered in some capacity. Period. I feel like that's something we all can agree
100%.
on.
100%. I agree with that.
Pushing forward now to the last thing that's making Texas just trash, and then I'll let you guys dive in to give me the people, is the police shootings. We've had 2 shootings now in the course of 1 year. Same principle, same lack of remorse, same cover-up from 2 different departments in the same state, not even 20 miles separated. Are we still convinced that the police are here to help people of color?
I'll do you one better. Are we convinced that the police are here to help people, period? I mean, if we're just going statistically, we know beyond the people of color, we know there's more white people shot and harassed by the police statistically than black people. However, and I know we talked about this. I don't want to get out too far off the point, But we were talking about that young kid who got the off-duty cop pulled the gun on him. It was never put on the news, but as soon as they do that to a black person, it immediately goes to the news. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm not buying it. But to the point, like, the police are incompetent. That's the real issue, at least in my opinion. For you to be quote unquote trained, and your knee-jerk reaction is to pull your gun out and shoot someone, says that either you have some mental issue, or you were improperly trained, or you're not the right person to be carrying a gun and a taser and a steel stick and mace, pepper spray, a dog.
Well, I'll only add to your point, because I have looked at Fort Worth and Dallas Police Department's training records because, forensic tech, I worked in the system. They get 60% of their training is offensive training. 10% of their training revolves around de-escalation. 13% of their training revolves around defensive tactics. Them killing you isn't the problem. It is the quirk in the design. It is designed that way because it is much easier to beat a dead man than a living one. Mm-hmm. Tenfold. And Dallas is history since police were established in Texas in 1850 something. That was the first slave catching and all that. I'm counting them. The first...
You talking about the Texas Rangers?
Yes, even the Rangers. The first female officer to ever receive a punishment for murder happened in 2019. Mathematically, my nose would start bleeding if I just thought about how fucking impossible that should be. But it's it's almost normal by default. Guillermo, you're not, as a person who doesn't revolve around the South, have I convinced you that Texas is having the worst year right now?
Yeah, it's honestly, I take everybody's opinion with a grain of salt because I think everything's a matter of perspective.
Sure.
I have never been to any of these specific places in Texas that you said. I have been to Texas, but I've only gone to Round Rock, Austin, and San Antonio.
Okay.
And I was there for a brief period. I think it was maybe a week, 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I'm a data guy. That's really small sample size. So I really can't speak on it. I mean, as a tourist there,
do you have any feelings about some of the things that especially about the gun? I would love to hear your aspects on the gun, especially the cycle of chaos which is happening in Texas.
Yeah, well, it's you gotta look at root cause analysis. Mm-hmm. So what's the issue? What is the problem that you're trying to solve? You say there's too much gun violence. So you brought up a good point of saying that a lot of these guns are obtained at these gun shows. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but okay, well, why not have laws in place that says if you're going to sell guns at a gun show, in order to legally sell this gun, you need to have this person pass a background check?
No, for 100%. Sure. For sure, but we have something called the NRA. And the NRA is, and when I found this out, it broke my heart. Because I found out about it during, he just passed away, Cummings from Baltimore. Mm-hmm. The NCAA, not NCAA,
NRA.
And not NRA, ACLU, all of those, like, NWC, Guillermo got my back. These are all funded companies and organizations designed to help First Amendment situations and keep people from being discriminated against. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the highest, last year, the highest income role for an organization designed to protect someone's freedoms and natural rights in America was? What company raised the most money? It was the NRA, because they are actually seen as a protected right in America. So it is almost impossible for anyone to say anything negative to a gun owner or a gun ownership organization because they're protected by the NRA. Mm. They will say, I have the belief that this person wants to protect his family to the utmost of his ability, and the Second Amendment gives him that right. So just by me making that statement to him, it is almost impossible for you to take that up in court. And that was baffling to me when I heard that. Like, I even went out to go try and test it, and sure enough, there's been over like 100 cases trying to dictate how this should go, and it doesn't go that way. So there is a power dynamic going on, and the NRA is dictating the structure of the argument, which that's not how our democracy works. It's for the people, right? By the people.
It should be.
I would hope so. But I'm not good at telling people what to do. I'm just here telling y'all what happened. So we got two. Guillermo had the most clarified answer. Me and you both. Do you agree Texas has the worst year?
From what I can see so far, yeah, I'm gonna say there's a lot going on. I think it speaks to to a bigger problem. We have a systemic problem with the police, the militarization of the police. I mean, I think that's really what we come down to. When you have the police union that can basically strong arm the courts into getting someone off, covering it up, or sweeping it under the rug.
The person who shot somebody.
Listen, that's a whole nother story.
That's a judge.
That's a judge embracing a literal murderer.
Did anybody hug OJ?
Of course they didn't. I mean, what about that there's a white gentleman who just who committed a very similar crime, and they threw the book at this guy. He didn't get a Bible. He didn't get a hug from the judge.
I just want people to. I don't even want. I'm looking for equity at this point. Mm-hmm. Not even equality, because it's just so far removed. It's just so hard to keep track of it now. But I mean,
I try hard to not make these things about race, because I know at the end of the day, it's not really about race. It's just about bad decisions. It's just bad, poor decisions.